Hi, my name is SKennedy. I'm the Editor-in-Chief Emeritus of the American Journal of Nursing. Until last month, I was the Editor-in-Chief, a position I held for 12 years. And I'm very happy to say that AJN has been the best job I've ever had. I've worked as an emergency room nurse and a clinical nurse specialist and an assistant director of nursing and also as faculty. But I have to say, being an editor of the American Journal of Nursing was the best job and sometimes the hardest that I ever had. So in this short video, I just want to, as Dr. Isabel Costa Mendes asked me to, just talk a little bit about what I've learned and what I really see as the editorial role. First off, I think in terms of a role, and any suggestions I would have would be, number one, know and be true to the mission of your journal. A journal that is supposed to be a research journal and really just publish research on a certain clinical area is going to develop content very differently from a journal like the American Journal of Nursing, which is a broad-based journal and covers everything related to nursing and healthcare. AJN has been around since 1900. We are considered the legacy journal of American nursing and really kind of document American nursing's growth and development in context of changing society over the last century. And our mission was very specifically drawn up by its founders, and that was to really talk about issues and controversies that relate to nursing and to healthcare. I think the words they used is to have conversations about all material and everything that nurses should know in order to give good care. So our mission evolved at this point to promote excellence in nursing and healthcare through disseminating evidence-based, peer-reviewed clinical information and original research, discussion of relevant and controversial professional issues, adherence to the standards of journalistic integrity and excellence, and promoting nursing perspectives to the healthcare community and to the public. So that's a pretty broad mission. And it has allowed us to really address some controversial issues. We are largely a scholarly clinical journal. Our impact factor is 2.22, and we rank 42 among 124 journals, nursing journals, which we're very happy about because, as I said, we cover a broad array of content. We cover news written by healthcare journalists. Of course, we have a monthly editorial, and we are published monthly. Another viewpoint by other nurses and healthcare professionals and the public. We also publish narratives to really display the process part of nursing and the reflective part of nursing, as well as case reports, original research, and clinical review articles. So we have a broad array of content, much of which isn't factored into the impact factor formula. So we feel pretty good about having a 2.22 impact factor and being rated in the top third of nursing journals. We're happy to say also we've won probably more awards than any other journal, and most recently we were the only nursing journal named among the 100 top journals of the century by the Medical Libraries Association. We also recently won Best Overall Magazine, Best Overall Social Media, and News coverage in last year. So I'm very proud of the journal. The AJN has a long history, really, of providing content not only that nurses need for their practice, whatever setting they may be in, but also information I think sometimes that nurses aren't aware that they really need. For example, discussion of policy is a big issue, and many nurses feel they don't want to be involved in policy, but policy determines everything in terms of resources and what nurses have. So I think depending on your mission, I strongly feel that bringing issues to light that affect the health and welfare and just the human life of the people whom we provide care for is important for nurses to recognize. And I think sometimes you have to be leading nurses. Nurses may be here on the continuum of knowledge of what they feel they need to know, but I think sometimes you have to provide information that is a little bit out there to kind of bring people forward. So I think one thing I would say, be true to your mission. Make sure your mission is something that fits your journal. Your journal should fit the mission. If you are a society journal, you have to make sure the society and the mission of your journal is in concert. The other thing I would say is in thinking about who we serve as journal editors, we, of course, the readers. Without readers, we wouldn't exist. But again, it's not just the mainstream content that is out there that nurses need for practice, but it's that broad array of content that they need to know just to inform their practice and perhaps think differently about their practice. We also have a responsibility to our authors. In order to get authors to write for us, we have to really make sure that we do everything we can to get their work out there. That's why authors write. They want their work out there. And it's work that people really need to know about. So we're very careful and work with our authors, but we're also careful about making sure our content is high quality content. We check everything. And that's one thing I would say, check everything. Don't leave everything to chance. We check every reference and citation that the authors cite, because we find that's one of the biggest issues we have is improper referencing, or referencing that doesn't really support. When you go to the primary source, it doesn't support what the author thinks it supports. We also have a responsibility to the profession to reflect and reinforce the values of the profession. If our profession advocates ethical practice and advocacy for all, then that's what I feel our journal should reflect that. And I think we also have a responsibility to society. Nursing has a social contract and an ethical code that includes advocacy for individuals, especially vulnerable groups who can't advocate for themselves. So I think we have a duty to provide that voice and challenge nurses to think about their role in that respect. In the US, as everyone knows, we've been through a very partisan, we're going through a very partisan period. So it's challenging for us as nurses. We have some very conservative readers. We've had people who have stopped subscribing to us because they didn't like the stance, but again, that we have taken on a particular issue. But again, we rely on the backing and go back to our mission and to our professional ethics in terms of supporting why we are presenting the content that we present. So I think that's the mission and vision you have for the journal, the responsibility you have to readers, authors, the profession and society. I think those are all very important to consider. And the other thing I think to consider is also your communications with authors. We give very good feedback for authors that we reject papers and are very detailed in that and suggest that they, feel free to use these comments to submit elsewhere. So in a nutshell, I think those are some of the things that I've really found valuable to know as an editor and have tried to instill. The other last thing I would say is social media is so important, because social media allows you to reach those people who don't know your journal, who don't read your journal or don't subscribe to your journal, who perhaps through social media will get to know you and then may subscribe to your journal. It's also important that on social media, I feel, to get nurses accurate information out there so that people realize that your journal is a trusted source of information. So wherever nurses need information is where we want to be. 100 years ago when AJN started, nurses received AJN's information at a mailbox at the end of their road. Now they receive it in Twitter, on Facebook, on our blog, AJN Off the Charts. So there's many different ways, but wherever nurses are looking for information, I think that's where credible journals should be. So our website is www.ajnonline.com. Take a look. You can also link to our social media. And I look forward to the question and answer period that we'll be doing shortly. Thank you.